All right, man, peace. You know, it seems as if this brother Carmelo Anthony is finally starting to get a level of self-awareness because according to him, he now has a huge chip on his shoulder, as he should. As he should, because he has a lot to prove. And I'm sure that he's saying that from the perspective that he feels like he's been disrespected, but I really don't. I actually think that the media has been very kind to him over the course of his career, especially due to the fact that he's really made no effort to improve his overall floor game. He's been a pretty one-dimensional player in regards to just considering offense. I saw the game last night between the Rockets and the Lakers, and I actually liked his performance. Even though he didn't shoot well, he was a presence on rebounds, and he also played pretty good defense, at least for his standards. Anything is good defense for him. But he actually was a presence on defense, and he was plus 29 while he was on the floor. So it was very obvious that he had a good impact. A lot of people think that I don't like Carmelo Anthony. I don't know any of these brothers to dislike them. I just assess what I see. And I actually hope, or wouldn't mind, that the Rockets were able to win a championship so that he and CP3, they could end their careers and say that we were able to cement our legacies with a finals victory. I wouldn't mind that at all. Do I think that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But I wouldn't mind it. But we'll see what happens with Carmelo Anthony this season. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
I think a chip is too small to say. I would say that I'm motivated.
You should be motivated. You better be motivated, bro. You're pushing 35 years old. This is your last real chance.
Just to get this season going and, finally start a new chapter in my life, in my career. Kind of put last year behind me.
Carmelo Anthony, Stephen A., he says he's got a chip on his shoulder. Should he have one, though?
He should.
He better have a chip on his shoulder. He better be focused as hell. You're talking about how he wants to put last year behind him. Well, you know what? If you had taken last year more seriously, it may have been better. But once again, what's past is prologue. But just in addressing it, when he went to OKC, he claimed that he thought he was going to average 30 a game. I have no idea why. But it just goes to show you once again how delusional the brother is. Like, he actually thought that he was going to put up Kevin Durant numbers. He's never, ever in his career been as good as Kevin Durant. Ever.
He should. And the reason why he should is because too many basketball critics are quick to insult him and not show any appreciation for what he is. Here's the...
Right, but Stephen A. Smith, when you say insult, what are you really talking about? Are you talking about telling the truth? Are you talking about real actual assessment? I think that everyone who watches basketball appreciates what Carmelo Anthony was. What he is right now is a delusional former star. What he was at one point was one of the most potent offensive forces in the NBA. Probably a top 3 pure offensive force in the National Basketball Association circa 2007 to about 2011. Maybe stretch it over into 2013. I say he was a top 3, top 4 pure offensive force in the NBA. But his overall skills, they've depreciated precipitously. I mean, really exponentially every season he's had a really precipitous drop-off.
Against Carmelo Anthony. We can sit up there and we can talk about, everybody can dissect, he shoots the ball, he doesn't pass, he don't play defense. They can say all of this. Here's the bottom line about Carmelo Anthony. And this will...
The bottom line is the brother has probably about a good 1 to 2 years left. And he better show what he can do with the Rockets. They better have a great season this year. That's the bottom line to that. Because there's no other team that's going to pick him up in a serious way if the Rockets get rid of him.
Ever be attached to his career, he was no LeBron James. And the reason why you say that is because he was drafted 3rd overall.
I agree. The specter, the shadow of LeBron James is hovering over Carmelo Anthony because they both came out in the same draft. I've covered this in other videos, especially due to the fact that the other 3 prominent players that came out in that draft have all won world championships, and they won them together. So it makes it look even more glaring that Carmelo Anthony not only has never won one, he's never even gotten to the championship round.
Braun was drafted 1st overall in the same draft. Darko Milicic was drafted 2nd. But here's the top 5 picks, Molly, in that draft in 2003. LeBron was number 1. Darko Milicic was number 2 because Joe Dumars was running the Pistons. They were en route to titles. He had Tayshaun Prince and
No, they were en route to a title. They were en route to a title. And I remember when that draft was made, even back then, people questioned why Joe Dumars would not take a Carmelo Anthony. Because had they drafted Carmelo Anthony, they probably would have won more titles than they did. They only won one. That team could have easily won 3, maybe even 4 had they just drafted Carmelo, because he would have gave them the offensive punch that they needed.
Boys didn't need Carmelo, so he thought he needed a big. All right? Carmelo goes number 3 to Denver. Bosh was number 4. D-Wade was number 5. Okay? And Bosh and D-Wade teamed up with LeBron to get their rings. And so what you have is a situation where Carmelo Anthony is the odd man out. So inevitably, when you look at him, you say, damn, that's the draft. And look at LeBron going to 8 straight finals, 9 overall. D-Wade's got 3 rings, plus he was an NBA Finals MVP without LeBron. Chris Bosh played the third wheel of help. And what has LeBron done? Or what has Carmelo done? Carmelo went for the money from Denver to New York to Oklahoma City, now to Houston, etc., etc. But what they're not realizing is that Carmelo Anthony, being who he is, has always been a prolific scorer. And the reason why I personally come to his defense is because I covered the Philadelphia 76ers for 10 years. I covered Allen Iverson every day for 10 years. By the way, he says hello to y'all. He watches us every day. He loves y'all. He and I just spoke the other day.
Just get to the damn point.
Allen Iverson was a scoring machine. He was a defensive liability. His definition of defense was trying to steal a basketball because...
Let me say this very quickly. Allen Iverson was a better defensive player than he gets credit for. At least he tried on defense. Carmelo Anthony does not even try.
Didn't guard anybody straight up, but he was a scoring machine. And so what...
I don't even have to set the traps for you. You walk into them yourself.
I am. So listen. So Larry Brown, and Billy King, and Pat Croce did something for Allen Iverson that no one has ever done for Melo. And that is this. This is who we have. Let's evolve everything tailor-made for his skill set.
That's not fair and that's not accurate, Stephen A. Smith. As a matter of fact, since you brought up Allen Iverson, one can seriously make the contention that the Denver Nuggets tried to do for Carmelo what the Philadelphia 76ers did for Allen Iverson when they traded away Allen Iverson and brought in Chauncey Billups to try to assist Carmelo Anthony in understanding how to win. And then later on in 2012-2013, the New York Knicks had Jason Kidd around him. They had Tyson Chandler around him, all to help and assist Carmelo Anthony with the things that he did not do well. Basketball IQ was not his forte, so they had Jason Kidd. Defense was not his forte, so they had Tyson Chandler to protect his backside. They had Iman Shumpert. They had J.R. Smith playing defense. So what you're saying is inaccurate.
Cover him in his areas of deficiencies. That has never been done for Carmelo.
Carmelo was the one who tried to force the trade to the Knicks.
Yes, he did force the trade.
Right, he forced the trade to the Knicks.
He did force
so,
the
like,
trade.
that's on him. You know, you went to an organization with...
Yes, he did force the trade to the Knicks, but all those points are moot because, once again, what Stephen A. Smith stated was just factually inaccurate. There was more than one team that tried to build a team around Carmelo Anthony and tried to hide his flaws. He just was not good enough to lead a team to the finals like Allen Iverson was. Allen Iverson was able to lead those 2001 Philadelphia 76ers to the finals, and they were actually able to defeat the LA Lakers in one game. To this day, people look at that season and that playoff run like he won a championship. Carmelo Anthony has never been able to do that. And Iverson was, what, 5'11", 6 feet? Carmelo's, what, 6'7"? And he has not been as transcendent as he should have been. In 2013, it's not even like they lost in the playoffs to the Miami Heat. They lost to the Indiana Pacers in 6 games. They should have won that series. They would have won had Carmelo Anthony had a higher basketball IQ. He's not a leader.
Low IQ in those years, especially.
Excuse me,
that's what happens.
They won 50
Thank you, sir. Let me rewind this back a little bit.
games with Mike Woodson as their head coach.
Right, he forced the trade to the Knicks.
He did.
So, like, that's on him. You know, you went to an organization with a low IQ in those years, especially.
Well, the Knicks had a low IQ in regards to being an organization, but Carmelo Anthony also had a low IQ as a basketball player.
Excuse me.
That's what happens.
They won 54 games with Mike Woodson as their head coach.
That's because Carmelo's a baller. Carmelo.
No, sir. They won 54 games because they had Jason Kidd and they had Tyson Chandler. Because they had Carmelo Anthony for a couple of years after that, and they never, ever, ever even approached that level of success again. So it was not because of Carmelo. Carmelo played his role on that team. He had a great season. He actually got a vote for MVP. But that team was led by Jason Kidd.
Now look, should he have a chip on his shoulder? I'm glad he does. He has something to prove. Good. I said he's one of the top 5 players under pressure this year. But if what you mean by that is he's getting criticized and doesn't deserve it, then no, he shouldn't have a chip on his shoulder. He is correctly criticized. That doesn't mean Carmelo, the human being. That doesn't mean people are saying he doesn't have offensive skills. This is what I'm saying. Carmelo has made a whole lot of money, right? But hasn't done a whole lot of winning. Now,
thank you, sir.
If you have a long enough career in this league, and you're in a position of leverage that he's been in because he's a superstar and has been a superstar, at a certain point, you run out of excuses. Now that
absolutely, and he's at that point right now. No more excuses for Carmelo Anthony. He's on a team that got to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals last year. If they don't at least do that this year, they are going to blame Carmelo.
Say he's under pressure this year. Now look,
Go ahead. By the way, you're digging yourself a hole.
Okay.
Keep going.
You talk about Iverson. AI actually got to a finals and won a game in the finals against the
Ding.
that looked unbeatable at the time. In fact, that's the only game that the Lakers lost in that whole postseason. And that was one of the worst teams to ever get to a finals. AI led them. You look at centers who weren't even drafted. 3 players who weren't even drafted in the same draft, right? Olajuwon, then Ewing, then because he was in the military, David Robinson later on. Now, Ewing may have been the worst of those 3 if you had to put him in order. I love Ewing, grew up watching him and everything. But he never won a championship, but he got to 2, Stephen A. He got to 2 championships as the best player on 2 different teams that made the finals. Carmelo Anthony, he doesn't have to be LeBron James.
Well, I can't count the second one because Patrick Ewing was hurt in 1999. So I can't really count that one. But, I see what you're trying to say.
Can he beat Dwayne Wade? Because Dwayne Wade is a multiple-time champion. And what's the difference between Carmelo and those guys? Those guys played defense. So,
Ding. Thank you, Max Kellerman. You're on a roll. You're on a roll, man.
if you're an offensive player, I'm not blaming him for the league changing from under his feet, right? The style of play changed. He was acclimated to a different style. His skill set was for it.
Right, but what a truly great and transcendent player does is they adapt their game. You look at LeBron James. LeBron James has gone to great lengths to adapt his game. If Carmelo Anthony had worked on his playmaking at some point in the early 2010s, he may still be relevant as a top 20 player. He's not even a top 50 player, to be honest with you. He's really not.
Different league. But he didn't play defense, and he's not as good as Dwayne Wade, let alone LeBron James.
Let me tell you why you lost this argument. Because Max Kellerman raves about GMs like Danny Ainge. He raves about GMs like Masai Ujiri. We understand that they're great. Yep. You forgot one person that's one of your all personal favorites, Mr. Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey is in Houston. We say the same kind of things about James Harden on the defensive side of the ball, but we still rave about his greatness. Why? Because he has an elite executive running the organization.
No, sir. No, sir. I have to stop you there. Carmelo Anthony, at no point in his career, has ever had the season that James Harden had last year. As a matter of fact, I'm not quite sure if Carmelo Anthony has had the seasons that James Harden has had the last 3 years, where he's been widely considered for MVP. Carmelo had that 1 year in 2013 where he got that one MVP vote, but he never challenged LeBron for MVP. Beyond that, we know that James Harden is known for his matador defense, but at least on offense, he's giving you 28, 29 points, 30 points a game, and around 8, 9, maybe even 10 assists. Carmelo Anthony can't even score anymore. He's shooting 40% from the field, and he's getting mostly wide open mid-range jump shots. So for you to try to make the issue about who the GM is, I mean, give me a break. I know that that's your friend, Stephen A. Smith, but knock it off.
That he plays for, that went about the business of tailoring what they do around this man, and they got to within one game of an NBA Finals. You look at Carmelo Anthony, he was in Denver, Mark Walker team before Masai went.
You like James Harden more than me. You like.
Well, you can't complain about the GM in Denver when they're the ones who got him Chauncey Billups, and when they got Chauncey Billups, that's when they made their one and only appearance in the Western Conference Finals. So they did their best to help Carmelo.
I like Harden too, but you think he's better than I think he is.
Listen, Melo's player efficiency has gone down every year. You should have a chip on your shoulder just based on that.
You're wrong, Molly. How you just get to say that and then go to commercial? Why you get to do that?
When we come back.
Look at that. She don't want to debate.
You're wrong, Molly. How do you get to just say that and go to commercial? But anyway, we'll see what happens with Melo this season. Hopefully he learns what his greatest value will be for that team, and he'll try to optimize that value. So peace.